So, welcome back to Page Turner, an RPG show set in a fantasy fairy tale world. This is our second episode, and I will apologize in advance for the fact that I will not be able to edit out the firework noises that will probably be in the background because I didn't think, oh, this probably wasn't the best idea to record on the 4th of July. But that's nor here nor there. So, we will do our normal and introduce our players for those of you who have not caught the previous episode. Zach, if you would kindly.
Hi, I'm Zach. I typically DM, but my new job is trying to work me to death. I play Bardolph, a wolf folk who fell in love with his own little Red Riding Hood. However, after adventuring for some time and getting into all sorts of trouble, the young sorceress left him for dead at the hands of a golem. He is now continuing his adventuring after recovery and seeking her out to settle the score.
Okay, if you would kindly introduce yourself, Brent.
Right. Well, you just got my name from our DM. I play Maximilian Weber, a giant spider who at the moment is trying to relive a long forgotten and discarded dream after establishing a safe haven in the middle of his home forest for wandering adventurers who have gotten lost. So as far as what he is, just think Spider Mayor. And that's about all I can really give you to describe at the moment.
Okay, so we will go through what happened last time.
Might be kind of important to point out that he spends most of his time in human form.
That they do. They both do. Both have human forms. Bardolph being a wolf folk, which is the race that basically the tales of the big bad wolf come from. You know, Maximilian also has a human form. Giant spiders, kind of like Miss Muffet, which, if you think about it, that might have been why Miss Muffet was terrified that a spider sat next to her. Giant spider, you know.
Yeah, if it was as big as Maximilian, I'd be pretty freaked out too.
I mean, I freak out with little spiders. I think I'd be like, I just need to change my pants now. The crew went to the city that they were headed to, which is a fairly sizable city. Not as big as the castle town, but one of the biggest in this area. And they were reintroduced to an old friend of Bardolph's, one of the huntsmen, which is essentially the Crown's Guard or the Royal Guard, named Alex. And the group split off into Bardolph going off to an enchanter's shop, and Lady and Maximilian going to the alchemist shop, where Maximilian proceeded to inform our dear NPC that he was interested in her romantically, and she was not more interested in the slightest. And then
it may not have even been Maximilian's fault. It may be that she was an arachnophobe and he was like 1,800 years old. Is that right?
Yeah.
Fred, do I remember that right? He's like 1,800 years old.
There's an 8 and a 0 in there somewhere, but not that ancient.
So like 800?
Okay.
No, only 80.
Oh, so he's not like super old.
Well,
I was thinking he was like in the hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, I was too. I was thinking of the thousands. So
yeah, cool. The NPC lady was not remotely interested. To which she immediately ran to Bardolph and was like, "This happened," and his response was, "Forget that it happened. Act normal, and I'm gonna go buy him a prostitute." So that happened.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Well, he did that, and fun was had with the prostitute. Bardolph also found himself in bed with the enchanter of the shop. Before the evening was up, Weber went to go to the gardens in the town again to walk and sketch, and found another woman walking through the gardens as well that turned out to also be a giant spider in human form. He offered to show her into the tavern and human drinks and things, and let her stay in his room while he went to the said aforementioned hooker's room. They decided to help the spider back to her home in which they encountered a bunch of giant ants and proceeded to kill them, not without getting injured. Lainey and Bardolph stayed behind for Lainey to help suture Bardolph's wounds, also so that she did not run into more giant spiders. Maximilian and the young Morrigan, the female spider, went to go see about taking her to her family of giant spiders. And that is where we will start off, with Lainey and Bardolph in the woods, dealing with his injuries.
Ow!
Stop squirming, you baby.
Ow!
It's not that bad.
Ow!
Oh, hush you. Crap. As she's suturing, she's kind of awkward about it a little bit. She's like, I know you don't like me. And I know that I annoy you. But I wanted to say thank you for, getting him off my back yesterday. When Alex was talking to me.
Right. Well, that's what adventurers do. We watch each other's back.
Well, I'm
because usually it's all we have. I'm pretty sure you're taking far too much pleasure jabbing me with that thing.
I'm not trying to.
Ow!
I'm not. No, I wanted. No, I just. Thank you. Like I said, I know you don't like me, and there's probably several reasons for that. One of which probably being the family I hail from, to which I don't blame you.
Well, your clan is somewhat obnoxious, but I wouldn't say that I dislike you.
Really? You do a good job at... I guess I do a good job at making you think I dislike you too.
Not that good. Not good enough.
Really?
You're about as easy to read as a large print book. He stares off into the forest, his wolf ears perked up as he's listening for signs of more trouble.
I don't know what you mean by that, but okay.
Well, he's refusing to meet her gaze and is not particularly forthcoming with any more information. He's just trying to hold still while she closes the sutures.
Okay, and then we'll switch over to Maximilian and Miss Morgan. Not much further. Thank you for helping me take care of the ant problem, by the way. It's greatly appreciated. I know you wanted to run.
Well, that much excitement is a bit much for me anymore. But I am still glad I was able to help.
Well, you did well, considering. How old are you, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, let's see. The day I actually started traveling with those other two, that was actually my 80th birthday.
Oh, I don't know why I thought you were older.
Probably the demeanor I have.
Possibly.
Trying to keep multiple families of spiders, not to kill each other, or lost adventures. You tend to feel old pretty quick.
I could imagine. Well, I'm glad that you helped me. I know someone of your age might find trouble with something like that.
Well, even at this stage, well seasoned as I am, I figured I might as well start adventuring now.
You picked an interesting time to go adventuring.
Well, I have my reasons, but I don't really want to get into that right now.
Understandable. Just a little further, and and you hear a little voice go, Morgan! Morgan, you're back! And there's I say little spider, but it's little compared to you. It's like a cat-sized spider. So, an Australian spider.
Oh my gosh, Australia. Ugh.
See the spider, and it's just like, hello!
I take it one of your siblings?
It is. Hi, little guy. Hi. Oh, hi. I've never seen you before.
Hello, little one.
Hi. It just waves its little leg at you.
I'm here to make sure your sister got home safely.
The giant ants were being pests again. Did you eat them? You should.
Ants are the only thing you shouldn't eat.
Tell them what for, and it uses its little front legs to make like boxing motions as much as it can with little spider legs.
Seriously, the first time you bite into an ant, you'll understand why.
They're not
Horrendous.
tasty.
Yes, absolutely horrendous.
You hear another voice. Ah, you've come home, child. How many times have I told you not to venture in to the human city without my knowledge? Sorry. You see a spider about as tall as you are, with brownish and silver furry body. I want you to know that it hurts me every time I have to describe these. It's like, oh, hello.
Greetings, ma'am. Maximilian Weber.
Pleasure.
Your daughter was quite lucky to run into another of her kind in the town, though.
Yes, it is not often that you see one that is not a part of our clan in this area, let alone in the city itself.
I suppose that's true enough. I should warn you that I tend to be viewed as a bit of a defective spider, so
Oh, how may I ask is that?
my sentience tends to supersede my survival instincts, so I seem a bit too human for most spiders to deal with.
Well, you seem rather spider-like to me at the moment.
Well, I suppose that's true enough, but the fact that I don't immediately cling to the absolute rules of survival and I'm actually willing to try to talk humans into either leaving or paying some way to get through my territory.
That is a unique manner of existing, I suppose.
Yes, it didn't earn me many friends, though I have managed to gain a few lifelong friends with it.
To be fair, I do think, especially if you are close to a city, as we are, playing nice with the humanoids and occasionally bartering if necessary is quite advantageous to one's survival. Most spiders do not build nests so close to cities, but when you have territorial disputes, sometimes it is absolutely necessary to do so.
Yes, it's far too common a problem, really.
So I say you're more acceptance and less likely to eat said humanoid. It's not defective as much as it is sometimes a necessary survival instinct. Although, to be fair, various species of spiders do see things differently.
Yes, mine in particular. Mine tend to be viewed as nothing more than bloodthirsty monsters.
Ah, hence the reason why people run scared when they see us.
Yes.
Not all of
Plus,
us are, yes.
though I do think some humans run from us simply due to the number of legs and eyes, bit too unusual for them.
I could see that, but to be fair, if you have seen a few humanoids, some of them tend to be a bit on the unusual side as well.
Yes, and some far too unusual, though. Not entirely unappreciable, especially those with magic.
Ah, yes, I have dealt with a few magic users on occasion, a few sorcerers, a few sorceresses. There was one a while back that poked her nose into where it didn't belong.
Yes, they awfully do that, especially if they're fascinated by spiders.
This one was not fascinated by spiders, more so than she was fascinated by anything and everything magic. She thought that we might have had some artifact or something. It was obnoxious, will I say. We did not do anything, but sometimes I find it best to not do something even though you wish to.
I will not metagame. I will not metagame. I will not metagame.
Yes. Though I do have to admit, you kind of lucked out on avoiding an arachnophile, I believe is the human term for them.
Oh.
The fascination goes beyond.
I have heard of such humanoids. That is how, if I believe so, triders are created. Humans who are willing to mingle with us spiders. It was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for taking my daughter back from the human area. I'll ask next time. It would be greatly appreciated. We were worried.
Well, I suppose your daughter will wish to adventure again. Hmm.
I.
I'm probably going to get flack from the
I
others,
will
but
metagame on this. What the crap?
but uh, I can already hear Lainey screaming at me. But I am willing to take your daughter under my wing to show
Oh.
her at least some of the surrounding area, so long as she wishes to travel with us.
Oh. That would. Huh. I have not thought of that. I appreciate the offer. Would you mind giving me some time to think about it? Perhaps a day or two?
Well, I suspect the others will want to be moving on
Uh,
probably by tomorrow afternoon.
I can. Okay. I will think about it for the day. And I would imagine you would have to ask your friends if they're not okay with it. That your wolf friend seemed to be very opposed to the idea. He said something about the last time we escorted a girl through the woods, she ended up staying with us and kept asking me questions about my skills.
Right, well, he wants us to go to the Castle of Maleficent, and there is a high probability of encountering nasty things, and I'm sure he was simply concerned that you might not be able to handle yourself on the road.
Ah, um, she just looks up at her mom. We will discuss this. Thank you for your offer and your helping my daughter. We will discuss this and she will return to the village tomorrow afternoon to give her response.
Right, I'll make sure to be in the fairy garden, so that way it's not too much trouble for you to reach me.
Thank you. Thank you. I will definitely consider it.
Very well. I just want to make sure that some young adventurer doesn't end up making a terrible mistake and getting themselves injured too badly. Especially since you are very much like one of my daughters,
Oh,
and she married a human.
oh, that is quite interesting. It's not unheard of, but frowned upon in most tribes.
It was heartbreaking, but especially since he was an arachnophile.
Ugh.
Oh,
She shudders. Well, I will see you tomorrow then.
very well.
She just, as much as a spider can smile, gives a smile and waves you off with her spider leg.
I look forward to hearing your answer, whichever it ends up being.
Thank you.
And with that, start returning towards the group, and halfway there, turn back into human.
Okay. So that you see Lainey and Bardolph as she is finished suturing his arm. See? Not that it wasn't that bad, as much as you complained.
He caught the fur and the stitches.
Sorry, I'm not used to suturing furry people, okay?
Maybe you should shave.
Glare at Weber, like intense and smoldering glare.
I would imagine it would be hard to shave Olive, and she just gestures to all of him, because he's in wolf form at the very moment.
Don't you human women have something with wax that can help with that?
I'm not waxing the wolf folk. No. I would imagine you would look like one of those hairless dogs.
You'd see some interesting scars.
Huh. You are covered in them.
So, I take it no more giant dance, huh?
Not for the moment. And there's a rather nice family of spiders living not far from here.
Oh, so, Bardolph is going to shift back into his human form and find a discreet tree or bush to change behind.
So, did she get back to her family?
Yes, and it seems that this isn't the first time she's run off to go to the human town unannounced to her family. Seems she has a bit of a desire to go adventuring. And I know you're going to complain ceaselessly, but I did offer her a chance to join us on our little merry quest.
You what? Oh,
It seems you have a weakness.
I don't know what it is about this world and history repeating itself ceaselessly, but it does annoy me so.
Well, did she say yes? Or. Because she's not with you.
Her mother insisted on discussing it with her daughter.
Because, nobody wants their child to go out adventuring with a bunch of random people that they just met. That's why I didn't tell my mom. And I just left.
Well, you're a bit of an odd case in that regard. You seem to be a highly contrarian red, and that seems to be saying something.
What are you grumbling about?
He walks back from behind the tree, now dressed in his regular size clothes, looking like a somewhat disheveled human. And he says, Reds are, well, contrarian, maybe not, but feisty by nature.
That we are.
All of them.
Yep. You ever, honestly, if you ever run into a clan of Reds, I would not be afraid of the males if I were you. It's the women you have to worry about. They're more likely to kick your teeth in than the males are.
Something for me to keep in mind, then.
Don't spider females eat the males after they finish mating?
Some species.
Now I see why you're trying to shop outside your current market.
Ah, right. So are we going back to town?
Yes, I suppose so.
I'm assuming we're staying there for the night.
Yes, though I suppose you guys will wish to leave tomorrow, and tomorrow afternoon was the earliest the young spider could possibly meet with after giving my offer some thought.
We have another giant fighter in our party. She just sort of goes beside Bardolph to only where he can hear. Maybe he'll leave me alone then.
He just kind of shrugs non-committally.
So
Weber's
maybe
just going to start whistling a happy little tune.
Well, maybe.
maybe. So back to town then?
Yes.
Like they say in the north, hi ho.
It doesn't take too long to get back in town. It's about a 30-minute to an hour walk. As you guys get into town, you notice there's a bit of a hubbub in town and some people gathered outside. Once you get past a little bit of the group, you see what people are, kind of just whispering about and have come out of their house for. There is a woman on a horse that has armor. It has metal armor on it, and she has blonde, almost white hair, done up in a bun with a braid around it, wearing basically plate armor with a giant rose armor piece stuck to the side, wearing a cloak with a red sash around her, with a shield and a sword on her back. Bardolph, you know immediately what this is.
Rose Knight, he says.
Shit. You guys should, don't go anywhere near her, because they can see through all of this. And she just gestures to the both of you.
I'm physically transformed, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Not an
but
illusion.
I know, but they can still tell. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they have a reputation for being kick-ass, but they also have a reputation for being good. I didn't expect.
True,
Yeah,
but
what the hell?
I'm sure I can at least reason with her for our group. I've dealt with more belligerent, stupid drunken dwarves.
Right. I'm going to vote we keep a low profile.
Perfectly understandable.
Rose Knights. Why is there a Rose Knight in here? Ugh.
Well, I mean, we're a little ways from the capital, right?
Right.
Could
Yeah,
she be one of those knight errants that I've heard mentioned?
Uh, you know, I don't know if Rose Knights take Aaron. Do they?
I don't know. I don't think they do. I mean, they're
I mean, I don't know
usually.
if they go on quests. They're not necessarily questing knights. I think they're like knights of the realm. He uses air quotes.
Yeah, they're more like knights of their area. And they're usually dispatched by the castle if something happens. Although they have been known to do the rounds, so maybe that's what this is.
Right, then I suppose I will make sure to continue to avoid coffees and teas, and perhaps you should avoid the alcohol, I say, looking at Bardolph.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no problems with alcohol.
Except for the fact that I'm pretty sure I saw you almost fall out of your stool last night.
It was, it was a difficult situation. I had a lot of stress relief.
Alright, let's just try to walk around this crowd then.
As you guys walk around the crowd, you see the woman dismount from her horse, and you guys head towards the tavern, and you hear the clink of plate behind you.
Don't look back. He whispers to the group, don't look back.
Look back.
You see her walking. She doesn't seem to be walking after you. Like, she seems to be just walking in your general direction. Like, not following. Perhaps, she's going to the tavern, too.
Oh, great.
You guys head into the tavern, and she follows into the tavern.
Great. Is there a decent number of people so that way I can play the harp and try to make some coin?
I mean, it's still mid to late afternoon, so not quite.
Also, that's not very low profile.
True.
The bartender goes, Aerith, long time no see. Right, long time no see. Some food, please? I've been on the road for quite some time. I am absolutely starving, please. She then looks over at your group, cocks an eyebrow.
Looks casually off in another direction.
Pull out the journal and start sketching the Rose Knight.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am?
Would you mind, all of you sitting next to me if that's possible? Don't worry, there's nothing, you've done nothing wrong. Don't feel as if I'm going to do anything.
Just whisper to the group. I'll see if it's a trap.
You do that. I'll wait right here.
You go and you sit down next to her.
Set the journal down and continue sketching.
She just looks at the rest of the group expectantly.
They're
Just do
going
what
to sit
the
and wait for a
Rose
bit.
Knight says.
You
She probably already knows.
think? For sure we got made the second she saw us and got off that damn horse.
Yeah, probably.
Might I
Sit
inquire
down.
as to why you wish to speak with us?
Oh, I was just, you're interesting folk, and I have not seen you around. Well, I've seen one of you around. Wait,
Uh-oh.
have we met? No, I've just seen you around. Oh, okay. I noticed something peculiar, and no one else in this town is obviously going to notice it, but I would imagine if you were traveling with a red, you are definitely not troublemakers.
You don't know very many reds. Oh, yeah, but you're right.
Rudolph, that's not helping. I'm Aerith Ermaine. Then she puts her hand out.
Shake her hand. Maximilian Weber, at your service, ma'am.
Pleasure. And you are?
Bardolph.
And I'm Lainey Red. Right, it's not often that I see a wolf and a spider walking amongst town.
It's not illegal.
No, it's not. Just your kind usually prefers to stay out of towns. More for, I
It's
would
typical.
imagine, more for their safety and less for the towns.
Yes, that is generally true, but it's been an unusual few weeks for me. I am actually here all the way from the great forest of Norfolk.
Oh, that is quite some way. And she looks
Yeah.
over at Bardolph.
Bardolph is trying to look casual and instead is pulling off looking sleepy with his eyes half lidded.
I see nothing wrong with you being here. It is not illegal and it is not causing problems. And you have even chosen these forms. To be fair, I would not have been mad if you were in your other forms, although, to be fair, the townfolk may not take so kindly to it.
Which is exactly why I prefer to stay in this form when I'm near human settlements. There are only so many pitchforks and torches you can see being wielded against you before you become adverse to the sight.
I would imagine.
My cousin got skinned alive, so
I'm
I try to blend in.
I'm very sorry to hear that. You would think that people of this country would realize that just because someone appears beastly does not mean that they are inherently bad or evil. You would think that they would look to the example of our late king.
I suppose it's more about human nature. Fear drives them to combat what they fear, or to either try to serve it or to ensure its protection. But
Or it could be just that people suck.
That is also a very true statement. I
far too many adventurers fall into that category, Bardolph.
Yep, there's one thing about adventurers. We're all different.
That
Yep.
you are. I have met quite a few on the road. I just wanted to introduce myself. You seemed a bit fearful when you saw me, and I wanted to quell that.
It's not every day someone sees a knight of the realm, let alone a rose knight.
Well, yes,
We've been told that you can see that we have other forms.
it is true. It is an ability that specifically the Rose Knights possess. It is to help with both being able to weed out potential trouble in wolf among sheep, if you would pardon my analogy, or in some cases sheep among wolf.
I suppose
Huh.
that's fair enough, but I'm sure you can understand our concern.
Of course, that is why I introduced myself and made myself known, so that you would not be as
You are refreshingly open-minded for one of privilege and
well us Rose
he
Knight.
says status.
Well, us Rose Knight try to be. We try to uphold the law, the value of the kingdom and of the founders of this kingdom. Like I said before, you would think that people of this country would know that just because someone looks beastly does not mean that they are in fact evil by nature. Adam should have instilled that value in people. However, the story tends to fall on deaf ears these days.
You give a slightly pointed look at Laney and then holler. Bartender, 4 glasses of ale, please. Or mead. Or beer, in that order.
Coming up. All of it or just the right.
Well, I mean, all 3 for me.
All right. He goes and he pours the drinks for all of you and sets it out. For all of the drinks, a silver and 5 copper.
Put it on my tab. We'll settle up at the end of the night.
Right. Uh, Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You know, we were wondering, What's a knight like you doing in a place like this?
I've been hearing rumblings of some interesting things about, and I've been sent to investigate a little further off, and it was one of my stops on the way.
Weber, Weber, you got her ear wrong. It's higher up.
Human proportions. Why can't everything either be extended or compact? Like, never mind.
Mm-hmm.
She looks over at it. It's not. That is actually a pretty good drawing. No,
This is
there.
almost a little bit romanticized, from judging by the shading. I bet people
Well,
fall for your gleaming armor all.
Well, I'm a knight, and that is what I am. I do not try to lead others on by my armor or my status, although I do get quite a few drinks. I honestly am not sure if it's because they are appreciative of what I do or scared.
or perhaps they're wanting to get underneath the armor.
She laughs.
Mm,
I have heard that a few times.
You beat me to it, Weber. You beat me to it. Good job.
Do you
Well, I
Hey,
please
you
am a
been
stop?
quick
awful
study
quiet.
in behavior,
Huh?
Bardolph.
What?
Two conversations. Oh no.
Sorry.
I was saying to Bardolph, well, I am a quick study in behavior, and I have learned a lot from you already, Bardolph.
I don't know if he's the person you want to be learning from.
Bardolph has this huge grin on his face. Just
Well,
follow my example.
so far, he is the only one offering any lessons on human nature.
What the fuck am I?
You are an anomaly.
Ugh. And she just gets between the two of you. Boys, you're drooling.
No, I'm not. This is drooling,
I,
he says. He like hangs his tongue out the side of his mouth and pants heavily.
You are quite amusing, the lot of you. But no, I am investigating some rumblings. Actually, I guess I could say this. I am investigating Maleficent's castle. I've heard
Huh.
some interesting happenstance there.
Well, you happen to have found the right people.
Oh, I have.
We're, I am an adventurer, and I have been. Well, this is my apprentice, he gestures to Laney, and this is my current tag along. And we are also heading to Maleficent.
Oh, well,
I
that
would
is.
like to think myself more valuable than a mere tag-along.
You're a tourist.
He's not wrong on that one. You are.
You're a fierce tourist, but you're a tourist.
We'll spend your entire adult life in a single patch of forest and see if you don't stop and see the sights or smell the flowers.
He holds up a hand. Fair enough, Maximilian. Fair enough.
Right.
But you haven't exactly voiced any opinion on permanently joining the adventuring career. I don't
Well,
want to rope you into something.
actually, I was trying to avoid roping you into my little personal quest into finding the first story and who authored it, but I figured that going to Maleficent's castle might be a good starting point for my own little quest as it is.
Well, that certainly seems like a worthy investigation.
Well,
Let's put it this way. We'll go to Maleficent's castle if everything goes good and we all survive that. Then I'll heavily consider helping you find this first story of yours.
and I will too.
You don't have a choice. You're stuck with me. You signed on.
I didn't sign on to shit. I agreed with Weber, but point. You are helpful with the adventuring, if not highly obnoxious at times.
If the two of you like, I could probably write up some decent contracts for you to sign.
Ooh,
That's
it's
not
been a long
necessary.
time since I've had a proper adventurer's charter.
Uh,
I love those papers. They're so pretty. They have like look frisk on them and shit. Oh, sorry, milady. You were saying something about the castle that I was definitely interested in.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was allowing you to speak. No, there's been rumblings and stranger than usual things coming from it, and I had been tasked to investigate.
You think you could hire some adventurers to help you out?
I could. It would be, if we are heading in the same direction, I do not see why it would not be advantageous for us to travel together. Safety in numbers, as they say.
He nods. Indeed.
Uh,
And
I
deep
suppose
in
that means I
mentality.
should actually get some sleep then.
You poor thing. He says completely unsympathetically to Weber.
Well, I suppose we will ride off tomorrow then.
Tomorrow afternoon we're meeting on.
Yes, there is a young lady who was getting in trouble for wandering into town by her mother without permission. And I offered to take her out on adventuring so that way she's at least has some faith in the people around her to not let her die.
Ah, and will this young woman be traveling with us?
Potentially, depending
Ah,
on how the family discussion goes.
may I ask if she is like the two of you, or.
Like the one of him,
Ah,
Bardolph says, starting his second mug.
ah, well,
Yes, she is a spider like myself. Has a bit
ah,
of magic to her, though.
very interesting. Magic spiders tend to be quite interesting. They tend to draw unwarranted attention, however. Magic folk are always interested in magic spiders for various reasons.
So it would
Hey,
seem.
Weber, did you collect our payment for wiping out those giant ants?
There was no particular pay, just the gratitude of a matronly spider.
You put the worst adjective with one of the worst nouns.
So what you're saying is you gotta thank you. Now leave?
Essentially, yes. I doubt you would have liked the spider stew that might have been prepared. Bit different from your grandmother's, I would
Uh,
assume.
Neither which connotations of what that could be sound at all appealing. You got one or two things, which is what I'm assuming it was: spider made with, or stew made by spiders, or stew made of spiders.
Depending on the species, it could easily be both.
Neither of which sound at all appealing.
I'm gonna
Well,
have to delay dinner if you keep talking like that.
I would imagine that having the rest of today and tomorrow, part of tomorrow, would give me plenty of time to restock my supplies.
But
And,
forgive me, uh, but isn't it highly unusual that a wolf is a knight?
well, it is not unheard of, but it is uncommon, yes.
I should have to make a note of that. Start writing in the journal around the portrait of the Rose Knight.
It is usually
So you had
male.
no brother?
No, I had three. I
Your
took up the.
family was so wealthy and you couldn't find anything better to do with your time.
No, I chose this.
Really?
I could not think
Huh.
of a better job to do than be a just, noble, good meaning knight that helps those around me.
I would very much like to hear that story. I'd like to make a note of it so that way, once this journal makes it back to my children and my grandchildren, they can at least enjoy the stories that I've managed to collect in my journey.
Well, I would be more than happy to tell those. Dear, Bardolph was your name?
Yes, he says. And yes.
Are you from this area? You seem to know what I was.
I've traveled through this country a couple of times, but I'm not really from here.
Oh, that is odd. Most wolf folk are from here. If you don't mind me asking, where are you from?
He kind of looks a little bit embarrassed and says, he kind of like fidgets with his mug a little bit and says, my family, gypsies.
Ah, traveling folk. That's understandable. Those who do not live in the woods tend to be. You would know that the value, then if you've been here and you know of the Rose Knights, you would know our values. And
I mean, I met one briefly, and he was more concerned and moralizing, lecturing, and threatening me than doing anything useful.
well, that was. I try to exemplify exactly what us Rose Knights are trying to do. I try to be honorable, noble, and valiant, kind, and good hearted.
That is a tall order.
It is, but it is my calling and what I choose to do.
He starts his third mug.
Lainey just leans over. So we're going to be traveling with a Rose Knight now.
Is that a bad thing?
No, I mean, not for me.
I'm sure you'd actually appreciate the addition of actual human company.
A little. Also, another woman?
Bardolph's like, yeah, bring on the women. More women in the party, the better.
Right, so you can stare at their asses as they walk.
Or whatever, he says.
Well, if you have to walk several miles without anything else to look at.
She just cocks her
I
head
just
to
want
the...
to point out. Hold on there, Whopper. If the best thing you can find to stare at is someone's ass for hours, you're not looking at the world correctly.
I, I, I was expecting that comment from him, but not from... You really are a terrible influence.
Ah,
Plus, you seem to forget that though I may be old, I'm not dead. I'm still a living creature.
You know what they say with men who have a pulse.
yeah, that poor prostitute last night, man.
Oh, fuck,
He
you
shakes
did.
his head.
Lady
It's not my fault she asked for the full experience.
Oh, so you knew then.
You what? Huh?
Yes,
She did mention it. She was kind of embarrassed about and kind of disgruntled by the fact that you apparently failed to mention that I was a giant spider.
Well,
So, in order to make up for your lack of informing her that you were sending her to the bedchamber of a spider, I had to work extra hard to make up for it.
oh, you make me want to claw out my eyes, and I'm not even saying anything.
Lainey's just like, oh. The roast net is just sitting there looking at you guys like, should I step away for this conversation?
No,
Absolutely
please.
not. You might be
Please.
the only sane person.
Yes, please draw us away from this conversation.
Do all of your conversations delve into the sexual in nature?
Most of his do, point at Weber.
You know, as of late they have. Like, you didn't used to be this much of a lech.
Well, as I said, the only person I can learn from right now is Bardolph.
And
Bardolph stands up and stretches his back, and he's beaming with pride. Well, I guess I'll have to keep showing you the good example.
As long as you don't... No, I'm not finishing that sentence.
Besides, at the moment, I am rather interested in our new traveling companion's story. I think my children and grandchildren would actually enjoy hearing her story.
Thank you. Perhaps we can catch up while we are on the road. There is quite a lot of traveling, and I feel as if a good way to get rid of the monotony on the road is by talking.
Bardolph comes back with 2 plates of food and sits down and begins eating off of both of them.
Hungry?
Always.
So, are we going to do our normal routine?
I suppose so. At least this time I should be able to join you for the music.
Since you're not being propositioned by someone.
Yes. And I actually have some sheet music for my favorite song. It was originally written for lute, but I had to adapt it to a harp.
Ah,
I was wondering if you could take a look at the music and perhaps we could perform it.
I can. No problem. She takes a look at it and goes, this isn't too bad. Yeah, I can do this.
So Bardolph has a fork in each hand, and he's like, steak, bite. Brisket, bite. Carrot, push away. Broccoli, push away. Steak, bite. Brisket, bite.
Okay, the two of you do your normal. You put your hat down on the bar, and the two of you start to perform. Roll a performance.
All right. That is a modified 9.
Okay. The both of you, as usual, are amazing. Quite in sync. Perfect as usual. As you play and Lainey sings to your playing.
Bardolph, is like, you like cards? The lady?
I have played a few games. I'm not what you would call great at it, but I do play cards on occasion.
Do you wager on cards?
Only mere pittance, never much.
He thinks about it, bites his lip. Something, his face. He like gets this eureka idea, and then quite quickly like goes into his poker face and says, "Ah, some other."
Then, do you play quite often?
Generally every night I spend in an inn or tavern. I find that these two making melodious racket typically inspire me to great feats of cardsmanship.
They
That
are
needs to be a word so badly. It's like
cardsmanship.
cardsmanship. It needs to be added to the dictionary.
Well, they are quite fabulous, actually.
Indeed, they make a good team.
That they do.
Bardolph even tips them a silver.
So, what has your group headed to Maleficent's castle?
We're adventurers, and archaeology is my specialty. Um, so, I also looking for someone, an old friend of mine.
Ah,
Used to be adventuring partners, but we eventually went our separate ways. She was a sorceress and a red. So talk about a rare combination. You haven't met anybody fitting that description on the road, have you?
um, not recently, no.
Okay, how about farther back? Come on, ever.
Out of play. How long was it since the two of you have been separated?
Maybe a couple months. The trail is kind of cold, but he feels like he knows her well enough that if he keeps traveling around the places that they've been, she'll have backtracked somewhere and someone will have seen her.
She thinks for a moment and is like, actually, scarlet red hair, usually donning a cloak that is ripped and torn.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
A little while ago, yes. I was investigating some disturbances in ruins a bit to the north and ran into her there.
Okay, could you be a little bit more specific?
Well, they were ruins outside of the city of Ashgrove.
Friggin' Ugh.
I take it you've been there.
No, but I've heard about it. Rumors are it's a bad place.
It is not the most savory of places, no.
Hey, do you guys know Johnny Wintercorton?
Yeah.
We do. I suppose we should play it.
Hmm?
Bartle holds up another silver piece,
We must
flips it into the hat.
do the requests of our fans.
Yes, there are so many of us tonight. How will you ever pick?
Right. So I think for our closer, I think that song that you and I were practicing.
Right, I think that one will work. You two start singing, and so what game are we playing by chance?
Faces and phases.
All right. Do you wish for me to keep an eye out for this friend of yours?
Yeah. She happened to say where she was going.
No, she did not. She said she was looking for something important, but didn't specify what.
That's her typical line when she's looking for something shiny.
She seemed a bit troubled, and I didn't quite trust her. I am good at reading people and telling whether they are on the up and up, and she was a little less so.
Uh-huh. He doesn't believe her for a second.
About her being good at reading people?
Right. So he whistles, Chester? And he goes ahead and he pulls out both his journal and Vivian's journal and checks her handwritten map with ash tree, ash grove. What was it? Yes,
Ashgrove.
ash grove, and the ruins outside of it. And see if maybe I can convince the party that we should go through Ash Grove on our way north to Maleficent's castle. It's on the way.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit on a, like, it's not exactly straight course, but it's definitely, you could take an ever so slight detour and make it there without going too far out of your way.
Okay, have a pitch that whenever they get done.
But no, I've always been pretty good at, like I said, reading people, so.
He just kind of stares at her completely blankly, using his poker face and everything.
Are you trying to test me?
Yep, he says.
Because you do not seem to be the type who has evil in you. You seem a bit mischievous, but not evil. Although you would like people to think you are.
I don't want anyone thinking I'm evil. That would be counterproductive.
Well, you want people to think that you're more bad than you appear to be.
Well, between you and me, ladies like danger.
Huh? Say that again?
Ladies like danger. Between you and me, ladies like danger.
Well, not all, but some do.
All of us met.
Well, I am not one of them.
You barely look human. You practically have a halo.
I wouldn't quite say that.
Well, play me a couple games of strip poker and maybe you'll change my mind.
No, I do not engage in such activities.
He's just like, he's smiling out of one side of his mouth. That's all. That's the only response she gets.
Him and making new members to the party uncomfortable with his incessant flirting seems to be a common reoccurrence.
I don't flirt with Weber. He's new.
I mean, other than, I should say the women to the party.
Well, you should quit throwing all female party members at us.
It just so happens to be what happened. Shut up. Right. You deal, I suppose?
No, I'll only play you in strip poker. That's it.
Nope. I suppose we will put the cards away then.
Yep, I'm waiting for somebody who actually bets real money.
I could bet real money.
Okay, but like ante's a silver a hand.
Oh, what did you think I anteed?
We use it a pittance. Most people try to play for copper. I'll play for copper for a couple of rounds, but it gets boring.
No, I have been known to be. Sometimes it's very rare. when we are training to be knights, there's not a whole lot to do, so cards tend to be. And when you're on a knight apprentice salary, you don't have a lot to go around.
Oh, you poor thing, he says a little sarcastically and starts dealing.
The two of you sing a couple songs and then take a break.
Nice. I guess Laney and I will go and sit down with Bardolph and our new party member for a bit.
You trying to fleece our new party member, our new knight friend out of money?
Lady, shut the fuck up.
Oh, well, you know you'd get bored if I wasn't there to mess with you.
She's kidding. She's kidding. Okay.
No, she's not.
But that's okay.
Ah, I fold.
I don't mind. It's fun. There is a bit of a rush when playing games of luck, skill, and chance. Even if your opponents do occasionally cheat.
I suppose that's fair enough.
Who cheats here?
Just pointedly look at Bardolph.
Bart reportedly looks back.
Right. Another hand then.
No thanks, he says, pretty offended actually, and sweeps up his cards and leaves all the money on the table, and he goes and he gets a room.
Wait, Mr. Bardolph, didn't you say about wanting to discuss something?
I did. How many drinks have I had? I don't remember this.
You said something about wanting to go through Ash Grove.
Yeah, it's on the way. It'd be a good stop. I have some investigating to do there. We might be able to do a bit of adventuring at the nearby ruins. Assuming our friend here in plate mail hasn't, taken all the goods and the glory.
I have not. It shall be our next stop then.
Seems reasonable enough to me.
Great. I'm gonna go for a walk, he says.
Very well, we shall be here then, I guess.
Fucking. Do you mind if I tag along? Just for a second.
Fine, just getting some air. The way you guys threw me under the wagon train back there, I'm still licking my wounds.
Sorry, sometimes I give you too much shit, and I didn't mean to. I realized it was a bit much when...
Don't interfere with man's means of making money. It's just that's not right.
Well, I wouldn't do that normally, and I was just ribbing you. And I figured if she was traveling with us, she's gonna find out either way.
No, if she's traveling with us, that means she'll pay for every meal we come across. That's what I think.
You think the knight's gonna pay for everything?
Well, whether or not she agrees to, she'll be paying for it by losing at poker. But no, you guys had to go and just blow everything.
Sorry, man. Look.
He looks up and checks the moon, like somewhat paranoid, like, oh my god, what day is it?
I believe it's the waxing moon is what it's called.
It's becoming more full.
Yep, you got about, looking at the moon and knowing your cycles as well as you do, you've got about 3 days.
Oh.
What is it? You look annoyed at something other than me.
The full moon's coming, and it's gonna make me look like a fool as usual.
Oh, I didn't know that was actually a thing. I thought that was just some sort of story that they made up to make wolf folk look bad.
Nope. Every full moon and to a lesser degree, the days before and after,
Mm-hmm.
the feral side is much more pronounced.
Oh.
And sometimes people actually just lose their shit if they're not particularly strong-willed, and
Oh.
more usually they've been suffering greatly and they give in to the temptation to go eat some chickens or something.
Oh.
But
So we should.
my instincts will be running high.
So just watch out and make sure you don't do anything stupid, I guess.
I would really appreciate it if you could keep me out of trouble.
I'll do my best. Just, don't. I don't know.
I don't eat people.
No, I wasn't gonna say that.
Oh, sorry. You had that look on your face that most shepherdesses get whenever, if this ever comes up.
Probably followed by one of your wonderful pickup lines, I would imagine.
No. It's after one of my wonderful pickups.
No, I'll make sure you don't do anything stupid and just, let me know if
I believe she accused me of cheating. I wasn't cheating.
she was probably messing with you.
And she's so deadpan. Those eyes are cold as steel.
Yeah, she's definitely interesting. We're gonna be traveling with her.
Yep, he says.
Do you think you can handle it?
We'll find out. I can always ditch her if I want to.
Okay. So we'll ditch the Rose Knight. That'll go over well. I
She
think
shrugs. I've done a lot worse in my time.
I'm not going to inquire. I think, I don't know if we may have dealt with the Weber problem though, but he was practically drooling.
Over the night?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I was hinting at. And I wish him luck. Those two are equally weird, in my opinion. They deserve each other.
All I gotta say is better her than me. Not
That's good self-preservation right there.
ugh, I kind of came off as a hypocritical asshole yesterday.
Is that so?
Don't act like, ugh. No, I told him to go after the woman, even though I knew it would only be, for an evening. I did it more out of selfishness so he'd leave me alone.
Failing to see how this is hypocrisy?
Well, I mean, I give you shit for, doing what you do,
Yeah,
and
you're right. You're right. I do what I do and I leave you alone. Good point.
Yeah, I almost fucked up because of it.
What?
I would have felt really bad because I wouldn't have delivered, but I almost took Alex upstairs just so he would leave me alone.
Alex is a good sport. He would have at least went with it.
True, I guess.
But yeah, that would have been kind of shitty, kind of
Yeah.
annoying.
That's
So good talk. Are we done? Because I kind of have somewhere to go.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. I was just making sure you were
He scratches at his nose like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, I'll head back to the tavern. Have fun doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah, cool. To the fox's den.
Ah, she walks away. Okay.
No, you didn't say that out loud. I was announcing that to the DM. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was announcing that to the DM.
Okay. Well, you go to the fox. Lainey walks away and back to the tavern, and you head to the fox's den. Oh, back again, I see.
Madam.
Bardolph. She just gives a smile and motions with her hands.
He comes closer and leans on the counter, leaning in. And like you mentioned, that your prices were significantly higher?
That I did.
I was wondering what significantly higher looked like.
For an evening or for the hour.
Um, well, I guess it's getting kind of late. He says, I don't care.
Well, for the evening. Let me think. You I'd be
Oh,
willing to give a bit of a discount, considering.
huh. Oh, for once, it's good to be me.
I'd say 2.5 gold.
Well, you got yourself a deal.
Here are the inn.
Come out here, please.
Right.
There's all sorts of uncomfortable people at the inn.
Right this way then.
So he allows himself to be, led upstairs and
And she yells.
has a good night as usual, I
Yeah,
assume.
she yells at the man in the suit. Cliff, take the counter for the evening. I will be busy.
You're the only wolf folk I've ever seen that has like the in between
Oh, because I'm half.
form. Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Have you never
I
seen a
have
half?
seen a little boy like that. Yes,
Ah,
come to think of it.
right. I'm a half wolf folk. It's what happens when a wolf folk and a human, you know.
Well, yes, I think I know what half means. I may have a pretty face, but that doesn't mean I'm dumb.
Right.
He says, and then scratches at the scar over his eye.
You are definitely an interesting person.
Hmm, I try.
I wouldn't normally offer my services, but you seemed like someone I would be interested in. And it's not
Oh,
often.
I sure hope I live up to the hype.
And it's not often that I see wolf folk come in my door.
He nods. Yeah, we typically avoid cities.
For a good reason.
Yeah, but I find there's too much fun in cities.
Oh,
If I win at cards, money. If they accuse me of cheating, I fight them and then I take their money. It's actually like really hard to lose.
and there's the company in cities tend to be better.
Uh, I'm just gonna let you prove that to me.
uh, you two share an evening. Back at the inn, Delaney
Mhm.
walks back. We may have pissed him off a bit by messing with him about the cards. Oops.
So it would seem.
She grabs Weber so that the Rose Knight doesn't hear. Um, just keep an eye on him. That's all I ask.
I will do my best to do so.
And you know, try your best to keep your eyes on her eyes. By the way,
Mm, the armor tends to obstruct the view, so
yes, because she's not one of those showy people who have molded armor like an idiot.
I was kind of thinking that he might be into armor, seeing as spiders have an exoskeleton, and that's kind of an exoskeleton.
And spiders kind of like sometimes like shiny things,
sometimes.
but
But that is approaching garishly shiny.
it is pretty shiny metal. Although I will say the rose piece is pretty nice.
That it is very nice. Do you think I could convince her to let me have it?
Yeah, good luck with that. Back to what we were singing.
Hmm. Yes,
Ma-
we'll finish that song, and then how about let's finish after that with the one I showed you that sheet of music for.
yeah, can
And
do. And then probably head to sleep. And then head off tomorrow. I'd imagine
more than likely.
we'll hear from the spider tomorrow. Don't know if adding another person might make the party a little crowded.
Hmm.
I wasn't expecting a Rose Night.
Neither was I, but fate is weaving a very unusual tapestry at the moment. Once we get to the showstopper song, it might catch Lainey a little bit off guard because Weber is going to start singing in a operatic style to go along with the more subtle acoustic of it.
Roll a
Name of the
performance.
song is alright. Rolling performance. Modified 8.
Okay. Yeah, you.
Name of the song is In Darkness Let Me Dwell.
Huh. Sounds fairly emo, but
It's actually an old Renaissance song written by
oh,
John Doland.
ah, well,
Hauntingly beautiful.
you guys sing, and it's really, really good. Like, this is where most of your coin is coming, actually.
Nice. Then after that, buy Lainey and our new Rose Knight friend some drinks, and I'll buy myself a coffee.
Yeah.
And just kind of drink and actually get the party that's here to unwind a little bit.
Okay. You you guys made about a.
You, you, you really are following Bartol's example. He would be proud.
He really is starting to become like a giant spider version of Mardolf. Although I have my suspicions as to why he's trying to act more like Bardolph, but I will save those for if they come to fruition. Yeah, you guys get about 5 gold amongst all of the coppers and silvers and whatnot. And for the drinks, it's about if you're getting nothing really expensive, it's about 5 copper.
All right.
I thank you. I have not actually had to pay for any of my drinks tonight. It's quite pleasant.
Well, consider it an apology for our little oddball group.
I have seen, if you would believe me, I have actually seen weirder. I mean, not as to what you are, but behavior. Um, if you have ever been in a group of huntsmen before, they can come in interesting varieties. And Lady goes, ugh. All 5 of my brothers are huntsmen. Trust me, I know what you mean.
I haven't had the pleasure of dealing with huntsmen, mostly lost mercenaries and such.
Well, I mean, you did, if I remember correctly, didn't you, you did meet my brother, I think. I think he mentioned you playing cards at some point.
Yes, but only briefly.
Alright, and then there was Alex, which was one of Bardolph's friends, which is really interesting for him to have friends amongst the huntsmen. Not saying it's a bad thing, because it's actually a pretty good thing.
Well, it can surprise you how some people can become friends.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not a bad thing. It's just some huntsmen tend to be assholes. We'll put it that way.
Mm.
And
I suppose that's true.
considering if you've ever heard the tale of, well, she just kind of points to her cloak. You know, huntsmen and wolves don't have the best of relationships.
Actually, I've been meaning to ask you about that story. I've been wanting to write it down in my journal.
What about?
Well, mainly just hearing the story so in full, so that way I can actually write it down into my journal.
You've never
I've
heard.
only ever heard references.
You've never heard the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Okay.
Lainey, please. Forced my entire life. Most of the things I get to talk to humans about are how I swear to any and everything that they ask me to that I am not going to eat them.
I guess I can tell you. And she regales you with the tale of Little Red Riding Hood. The, for reference, the Grimm's brothers version of Little Red Riding Hood, and all of its dark, oddly, weirdly sexual kind of inclinations.
Mhm.
And then once she finishes with it, she's like, "Yeah, that's the story as they tell it anyway. I don't know if it's all accurate or true.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Perhaps
don't.
I might be able to find some whether or not this is completely true, and that in my quest to find the first story and its author.
Maybe. Um, I mean, I don't necessarily buy the fact that the grandmother and Red were still intact in the wolf's stomach bit, but
Hmm. Definitely strange, but the world itself is quite strange, I suppose.
oh, that's truth and a half. I haven't.
You should ask Bardolph to tell you the wolf side of the story.
You know, it is interesting. I wonder if there is a different side to the story. Like
Um,
maybe wolf folk tell it differently.
it would not surprise me if they did.
Right. I mean, obviously humans are going to make the wolf folk out to be the bad guy, and maybe wolf folk make the human out to be the bad guy.
Hmm.
Wouldn't be the first time I've heard of stories going differently. Like, if you've ever have the pleasure of meeting a witch, it is both the most interesting and terrifying experience. That's another story that has two different tales. The one that most people know of poor Hansel and Gretel, and the witch was trying to fatten them up, and her story was the kids were a bunch of little assholes. You
I
know,
haven't had that many encounters with those possessing magic.
uh, when I mean witch, avoid candy houses in the woods. Just gonna say that. Also, witches' huts are probably something you should avoid.
Hmm.
Fairy
Candy
circles,
house.
also avoid those. Yeah, houses made of candy.
So it wasn't the mushrooms I ate.
You've encountered. Right. Some witches build their houses out of candy, and the story is that they lure children into the houses by the appeal and then eat them. I mean, that's the story anyway. And that's the story of Hansel and Gretel.
Seems an awful amount of work to build a trap for your prey.
I mean, some people get elaborate. Also, I don't know why you'd want to live in candy. Although it's very possible that it could just be an illusion. But it does taste like candy and gingerbread.
The illusion seems far more likely. But going to the effort of building a house as a trap? I mean, I understand weaving vast amounts of web, but
Perhaps that's their web.
then they should learn some efficiency. I mean, two, maybe three areas where you know there are people that tend to get lost and wander.
Well, there is said to be something to it that can also make the children more susceptible to stay. At least that's the story. And then, of course, it's not. They don't just live in candy houses. There's huts and other things. Witches are interesting breeds. There's a difference between a witch and a sorceress, however. Witches tend to be live amongst the woods and tend to be a term used for those who are less than amenable.
Mhm. I suppose there are some groups of spies that would probably get along well with them, unfortunately.
I would imagine. I would imagine there are groups of people who might as well. Um, Witches tend to deal with a more darker kind of magic. But it's not just witches who deal with darker magic. There are dark fairies as well, as the castle we are headed to alludes. And I would imagine, being from Norfolk yourself, you have heard all of the tales of Maleficent and the Sleeping Beauty, considering that that is the founder or the greatest claim to fame of your country, considering that one of the descendants who rule now are the descendants of Beauty and the Prince.
Yes, that story I have heard, and I actually met a particularly old spider that claimed to have been one of the guards of Maleficent's castle. Strange fellow, that one.
It doesn't surprise me that she would have giant spider guards.
Yes, very large tarantula.
Ah, I need shudders. Right, I'm gonna go to bed.
Very well, have a good night's sleep, Lady.
Well, I am definitely interested to travel with the group of you. It should be interesting.
Interesting, probably headache-inducing eventually, given our antics.
Well, it beats traveling alone, I must say. If your wolf friend doesn't keep insisting on playing strip poker with me, however.
I suppose his insistence on that will pass eventually. Might I ask a favor of you, my lady?
Perhaps, what may that be?
Given that I am unfortunately advancing in years, I fear that I might not quite make it to the end of the journey I've set for myself.
Oh,
And I was wondering if you might be willing to get this journal back to my family in Norfolk, should the worst happen.
oh, that is quite a noble quest. Yes, it might take me a little bit because if I am not on any quests from the crown, then I do not see why that could not be accomplished.
Thank you.
You're
I would
very
have asked
welcome.
the other two, but I didn't want to impose upon them too much. Especially since Bardolph has his own quest to deal with, and
Oh,
Laney's a
yes,
bit of an arachnophobe.
he's looking for a friend, I think is what he said. An adventuring, an old adventuring friend of his.
Yeah. And hopefully he does find her trail soon.
Well, here's to hope. I did mention that I believe I saw her. Perhaps that's why he wants to go to Ashgrove.
Perhaps. And I think it would do him good to find her and get some closure on some issues he has.
Oh, but it was a pleasure meeting you, and it will be a pleasure
Likewise.
traveling with you.
I must admit, I look forward to it.
As do I.
Actually, having some polite conversation that doesn't turn to what it did last time would be refreshing.
She just sort of raises an eyebrow.
Yes, Bardolph, the small issue that of Bardolph buying me some entertainment.
Ah, I overheard that. Interesting
Yes,
fellow, that wolf. And I do not anticipate any of our polite conversations turning into matters of that in whatsoever. And conversations with anyone in your party turning to that.
well, in any case, I probably should turn in and try to get some sleep.
As should I. The road will be long and wary. We will have to camp at least once.
Right. At least here, the tavern is actually large enough for me to stretch out as it is.
Right. Well, have a good night.
Good night, my lady.
And with that, everyone goes to sleep in their various locations with their various people.
The wolf's got to do what a wolf's got to do.
I mean, I wasn't expecting him to go for the madam, but
He's kind of like a go big or go home kind of guy. It's like, if I'm going to pay for this, I'm going to make sure I'm getting a damn top of the line.
I mean, he did get the madam of the place, so yeah. If they're sitting top of the line, that's it. But yeah, you guys wake in the morning. Some of you by yourself, some of you not. The wolf, the half wolf.
Tough. Tough. That was
beside
good.
you.
I'll have to come back.
And I would greatly appreciate it. That was a good evening. I am very selective with those that I choose to be my clients. And if you do come back this way, you are more than welcome to my bed. For a price, of course.
Bardolph just like, nods and runs his fingers through his messed up hair, making it slightly less messed up, and proceeds to cover up his gnarly scars with a shirt and get dressed and whatnot. He has to look halfway presentable. One of these days he's going to iron his clothes, but that day is not today.
Whipper will actually go and knock on Laney's door.
Hold on. I'll be there in a second. After a few moments pass, she opens the door. Who, what? Oh, hey, Weber.
Good morning.
Morning.
I was wanting to apologize for being so forward yesterday.
Right. That. I had tried to forget about that. Apology accepted.
Still, I can't help but not be entirely dissuaded by it, but...
I suppose I should be completely 100% throw out what I think and tell you that you have no chance in all of Wonderland.
Yes, I know, but one cannot change what the heart wants.
Right, but one can tell it to fuck off for a while.
Yes, but at the very least, as way of apology, at least allow me to make your hair nice and presentable.
What's wrong with it?
You've made a complete mess of it.
Well, I'm sorry. I have to sleep. I don't sleep with my sitting up.
No, I suppose you humans can't do that.
Fine.
Still?
Fun fact, people did used to sleep sitting up. In fact, for most of human history we did. Well, most of the human history in which we had the bed as we know it.
Well, they don't do that in this fairy tale world. So.
That's why I said fun fact and not, hey, you're wrong.
Right. Fine. Just don't get creepy.
No. I try to avoid being creepy.
You should try harder.
It's not my fault that my nature is creepy by default. I mean, I think about almost every single movement when I make it, so I tend to look a bit slow, overly lost in thought, stare too much.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
Like I said, way of apology.
Yeah, just hurry up.
At least you haven't made as big a mess of as some of people I've done their hair. So I do have to thank you for that.
Right. I did also fall directly onto my ass into the mud, so that's...
Yes. And you stained that cloak.
Yeah, well, I'll wash it out when we get to the next stream. It'll be alright.
I know just how durable silk is. Seriously, how did you make such a mess of yourself?
They fell on my ass in the mud and got covered in ant gunk. Luckily, there's a wash area in this tavern.
Yes,
and I washed up before we started singing because no one wants to tip a singer covered in ant gunk.
Adventure's baptism.
You braid her hair after complaining of like how you're pulling it, and as you guys get to the bottom of the tavern, there's the Rose Knight from before.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good to see that you are awake. I have not seen your other traveling companion. I'm taking his walk went to someone else's bed.
So Bardolph strolls in the front door, whistling.
I'm gonna say exactly what I just said.
Right.
Hi.
Hello.
What's everybody looking at me like that for?
So was it the Enchantress again?
No, please.
Don't want
Think
to.
so low of me.
Don't want another back tattoo.
Oh, so much pain.
I think I'm going to go visit the fairy garden again.
Right.
Do a bit more sketching of the place.
And that's where Morrigan's supposed to meet you, right?
Yes, eventually.
Have fun. I'll be here, eating food.
Right.
And I will be here waiting when everyone is ready.
Somebody said something
Anyway.
about food, and I smell bacon.
There is bacon prepared.
Okay, so I'll have 2 scrambled eggs, the sausage, a side of fried ham, and all of your bacon. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, an order of bacon. Not a side, a whole order. And don't
Right.
burn it this time.
All right, we'll get it to you. You're gonna eat us out of meat if you keep this up.
And let me pay my tab off from last night. Here's
Okay, and then for all of the food, 5 copper.
okay. He tips them generously.
Okay.
Okay, he's just like got a grin on his face.
Good
He's
night.
actually pretty much yeah. Oh, oh, oh.
I take it your evening went excellently.
Mm-hmm. Bacon is good too. This is like one heaven after another.
Ugh.
You asked, he says.
I didn't ask. She did.
Oh, she asked. She's a real friend.
I don't want to know who you take to your bed. No one can hear you when you have a mouthful of food.
I forgot what I was going to. He goes back to eating, as usual. Right? He eats like he's never seen food before in his life,
Well, we will
and he
go.
has pretty atrocious table manners. Like he will pick up an entire steak on a fork and just like bite and rip on it.
No one ever taught you to not eat where you get food everywhere and all over yourself?
I don't get food all myself or really much anywhere else.
Uh, Says the
Mm.
fact that you have food all over your face.
My face is cleanable.
We will go to the gardens early to mid morning. And gardens are still very pretty. And you see all the flowers as usual. And there's a few people in here, not as many as there would be during the evening. What do you wish to do?
Actually, kind of go through and take stock of what all the garden has. Actually, stop for a moment and appreciate something this well put together.
And smell the roses?
No. Violets, maybe. Roses, no.
Yeah, there are violets, and there's a lot of roses of all colors and varieties, but mostly red roses. And people are coming and going, and you have somehow managed to surround yourself with spiders, so people are avoiding you and kind of giving you glances. Hello.
Ah, there you are, Jeffrey.
Hi. Jeffrey waves his little leg at you. Listen to this, and he takes out his little harp and starts playing a little song.
You're
I
improving
seriously,
greatly.
I seriously expected him to pull out his heart and then start playing a heavy metal like shredding solo. Like that's what I expected. I thought he was just gonna shred that thing. Guys, I hate to do this, and feel free to continue on without me. Uh,
You gotta
you know,
go?
I am exhausted. And I have very early in the morning. Uh, I would have liked to stick around and do the recap, but you guys go ahead and finish up doing what you're doing, and have a good night.
Alright, night man.
Good night.
Okay. With that, we'll finish up the garden scene and then we'll call it a night. Um, you guys, your little spider friend is like, yeah, I was watching you guys play.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy the performance?
I did.
I'm glad.
Um, and that is where we will call it.
Alright.
Thank you everyone for watching. This one will probably be a bit shorter than most, but we will see you next time.